Why do products cost what they cost? The answer is often not the product itself, but the long value chain behind it. It begins with raw materials, manufacturing, and assembly. In parallel, entrepreneurs, designers, engineers, and companies develop the ideas, technologies, and business models that bring products to life. Once manufactured, products must be transported across regions and borders, while marketing and sales channels are created to reach potential customers. After arriving at their destination, products are typically moved through local warehouses, distributors, and retail points before finally reaching the end user. Along this journey, costs accumulate at every stage: transportation, customs duties, taxes, salaries, commissions, storage, rent, and many other overhead expenses. The question is not only how products are manufactured, but how much of this value chain is truly necessary. What if products no longer had to travel across the world? In a decentralized manufacturing model, only information needs to travel. Designers, engineers, and entrepreneurs can develop products anywhere in the world and share them instantly through digital networks. The design files can then be transferred directly to local manufacturers or even to consumers themselves. Using additive manufacturing technologies, products can be produced close to the point of need, eliminating many of the stages found in the conventional value chain. Marketing can remain global, while production becomes local. As a result, transportation, warehousing, customs duties, inventory management, and many intermediary costs can be significantly reduced. Instead of moving physical products across continents, we move digital files and manufacture only when and where they are needed. Products no longer need to travel. Only information does. So, where do we stand today regarding the use of additive manufacturing technologies? Despite the growing discussion around decentralized manufacturing, the vast majority of additive manufacturing activity still takes place within industrial and professional environments. Today, additive manufacturing is widely used in aerospace, automotive engineering, medical technologies, dentistry, construction and architecture, military applications, and a broad range of research and development activities. It is also advancing fields such as food printing research and biofabrication, where scientists are exploring the production of biological tissues and the future manufacturing of organs. These sectors benefit from the ability to produce complex geometries, customized products, and low-volume production runs that would often be difficult or uneconomical using conventional manufacturing methods. In other words, additive manufacturing is already creating substantial value, but primarily within industrial and institutional frameworks. The question is no longer whether additive manufacturing works. The question is, where does it create the greatest impact? An example of how the advantages of localized manufacturing can be realized through additive manufacturing can be found in healthcare. At Sheba Medical Center in Israel, additive manufacturing technologies have been integrated directly into the clinical environment. Instead of relying on external suppliers, medical teams can rapidly produce anatomical models, surgical guides, and patient-specific solutions within the hospital itself, improving responsiveness and supporting clinical decision-making. A different approach can be seen in Tikkun Olam Makers, a global community that develops assistive technologies for people with unique challenges and disabilities. Using digital design and local manufacturing tools, solutions can be tailored to individual needs and produced quickly, often addressing problems that conventional mass production would never target. Together, these examples illustrate a fundamental shift. Manufacturing is no longer confined to factories. It can take place wherever expertise, equipment, and demand come together. So, what is happening in the domestic market? The data suggests a mixed picture. On the one hand, desktop 3D printer sales have shown consistent growth over the years, indicating a steadily expanding user base. However, adoption levels are still far from the scale typically associated with a consumer revolution. Another interesting observation is the significant gender imbalance among users. The technology continues to be used predominantly by men, suggesting that large segments of potential end users have yet to engage with the technology. At the same time, an entire ecosystem has emerged around domestic additive manufacturing. This ecosystem includes hardware manufacturers, online marketplaces, file sharing platforms, professional services, traditional e-commerce channels, and more recently, artificial intelligence tools that simplify design and content creation. Taken together, these developments suggest that many of the technological and infrastructural barriers have already been addressed, which raises an important question. If desktop additive manufacturing is capable of producing functional end-use products, and if the technology is becoming increasingly available and affordable, why has it not yet achieved widespread public adoption? Well, it depends on who you ask. As we have seen, the domestic additive manufacturing market continues to evolve, yet much of its growth remains concentrated among engineers, designers, students, and technology enthusiasts. But what about the general public? In a recent survey conducted with Professor Yonatan Ventura, involving 800 participants from across Israel, we found a generally positive attitude toward the concept of domestic additive manufacturing and a considerable willingness to adopt such technologies. However, concerns related to technological complexity and expected frequency of use emerged as recurring themes. This observation raises an important question. If the public is interested, if the technology is available, and if the ecosystem is already in place, why do current desktop 3D printers still struggle to break into the mainstream consumer market? Perhaps the challenge is not the idea of domestic manufacturing itself, but the way it is currently being delivered. If we ask the industry, or more accurately, observe the evolution of desktop 3D printers over the years, we can observe a remarkable process of maturation. Print quality has improved dramatically, printing times have been reduced, workflows have become more streamlined, and user interfaces have become significantly more accessible. Modern desktop printers are more capable, reliable, and user-friendly than ever before. Yet when examining the products themselves, a common characteristic remains. Despite their technological progress, most designs still communicate the language of a machine rather than the language of a solution. The product is often presented through its technical capabilities, materials, settings, and manufacturing process, rather than through the specific problem it solves or the specific end user it serves. At the same time, a closer look at the domestic additive manufacturing ecosystem reveals an interesting pattern, one that becomes increasingly visible when examining where engagement, participation, and community growth actually occur. That pattern becomes particularly visible when examining platforms such as Umagen and Gambity. Although they operate in different domains, both focus on highly specific products and clearly defined user communities. Rather than promoting additive manufacturing as a general-purpose technology, they emphasize situations where desktop production offers a clear advantage over conventional alternatives. Umagen focuses on transportation-related projects and functional products. Many designs combine printed and non-printed components, while the surrounding ecosystem provides the guidance and support needed to turn individual parts into complete working systems. Gambody applies a similar approach in the world of collectible and fantasy models, offering highly detailed products that benefit from customization, digital distribution, and local production. Importantly, both communities are inherently technological, making current desktop printers a natural fit for their users. What stands out is that the technology itself is not the main attraction. Users are drawn by a specific interest, a specific need, and a community that shares it. In these cases, additive manufacturing is not the product. It is simply the enabler. This observation may also provide an important insight into the future development of localized and domestic additive manufacturing. The examples presented throughout this talk suggest that success depends not only on the manufacturing technology itself, but also on the context in which it is deployed. When additive manufacturing is intended for local production centers, such as hospitals, military organizations, research facilities, or industrial workshops, versatility becomes a major advantage. These environments benefit from systems that support a broad range of materials, build volumes, manufacturing processes, and advanced settings. In many respects, today's technologies already provide effective solutions for these applications. However, the situation changes when the target users are private individuals or environments that are not based on expert knowledge. In these cases, complexity often becomes a barrier rather than a benefit. Mechanical complexity creates maintenance challenges, while technical workflows increase the distance between the user and the intended outcome. As a result, simplification should not be viewed as a reduction in capability, but as a design objective. Rather than maximizing the number of features, future domestic manufacturing systems may benefit from focusing on specific needs, specific users, and specific applications, while eliminating capabilities that do not contribute to the intended experience. The goal is not to bring industrial manufacturing systems into the home. The goal is to create solutions that feel natural, accessible, and immediately useful within the context of everyday life. Building on this perspective, I would like to leave you with a few final thoughts. If you are an engineering student and one day find yourself working in the additive manufacturing industry, you will likely become part of a community dedicated to advancing the technology and expanding its technical capabilities. At the same time, remember that every manufacturing system ultimately serves a specific group of users. More capabilities are not always better capabilities. Additional features often introduce greater mechanical and electronic complexity, reduce reliability, and increase maintenance requirements. Engineering is not only about adding functionality, it is also about optimization, understanding which capabilities create value and which merely increase complexity. As future engineers, I encourage you to consider these questions as part of the design process. If you are a design student, there is still a tremendous opportunity to contribute to this field. Whether through the creation of meaningful products, intuitive user experiences, or interactive ecosystems that connect people with manufacturing technologies, much of the remaining challenge lies in this direction. For those interested in exploring these ideas further, I invite you to read Design Methodology for Product Designers in the context of domestic 3D printing, Archetypes of Products in the Domestic Desktop 3D Printing Products Market. Thank you for your attention, and take care.